Kazakhstan, 30 years of independence. Once we were a part of one country, we were close neighbors. 15 republics of the Soviet Union. Much has changed since 1991, but one thing has remained unchanged. We are still close neighbors today. How did the relationships between our nations develop in the past? What is happening now, and what are our plans for the future? How do people in our countries live and interact with each other? Kazakhstan and its neighbors in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbors. Quick tackle, fight, and another point. The roar of the crowds, the excitement of the athletes, and the voice in the trees who are closely following the game. Composure and honesty, strength and dexterity, kokburu or kokbar. This is the most daring, dramatic, very masculine sport. A symbiosis of wrestling, rugby, horse riding, and even elements of football, the Turkic version of English polo. It's impossible to remain indifferent, especially when the best teams in the world go out on the field, Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan. There are martial arts, there are various types of horse racing, there is kokburu, our common sport. Our countries have a lot in common. Over the years of independence, we have maintained a political and diplomatic dialogue at all levels, at the parliamentary level, at the presidential level, and at the government level. The Kyrgyz Republic is a state in Central Asia located in the western and central parts of the Tien Shan and in the Pamir-Alai. It borders with Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and China. Territory: 199,951 square kilometers, 85th place in the world. Population as of January 1st, 2021, over 6.5 million people. Capital: Bishkek. National currency: Kyrgyz som. Diplomatic relations between the Kyrgyz Republic and the Republic of Kazakhstan were established on October 15, 1992. Kyrgyzstan has no access to the sea, but there are amazing lakes. The most famous one is Isyk-Kul. Three-quarters of the territory of the republic is occupied by the mountains. 4% of them is covered with ice that never melts. And almost a quarter of the country's population lives in Bishkek, the capital of the republic. Our closest neighbor, behind the nearest heavenly ridge of the Tien Shan Mountains.
Для нас казахи – это родные, родственники, да, мы всегда говорим, что...
We consider Kazakhs as relatives. We always say that the Kyrgyz and Kazakhs are almost one nation. Our languages are very similar. For example, if I start a discussion with a Kazakh and we both converse in Kazakh and in Kyrgyz, we will surely understand each other.
На какую-то тему, на казахском, на кыргызском, мы друг друга абсолютно понимаем.
We have an Intergovernmental Economic Council for Trade and Economic Cooperation with Kazakhstan, headed by the prime ministers of our countries. You can get from Almaty to Bishkek in just 3 hours. Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan are indeed close neighbors in a myriad ways. More than 120 mutual agreements have been signed at the state level alone. After all, Kazakhstan is one of the main trade partners of Kyrgyzstan. In its total share, it ranks third among other partner countries. And the trade turnover between our countries is growing, even despite the crisis and the pandemic. Kyrgyzstan supplies Kazakhstan with electricity, dairy products, vegetables and fruits, cattle, clothing and glass. Kazakhstan supplies Kyrgyzstan with oil and oil products, wheat, coal, flour, vegetable oil, mineral raw materials.
В рамках визита нашего президента в Республику Казахстан, который состоялся...
As part of the visit of our president to the Republic of Kazakhstan, which took place in April 2021, an agreement was reached to achieve a trade turnover of up to $1 billion. Presently, due to the pandemic which has affected almost all areas, trade is falling. But despite this, the parties are making every effort to increase activity at all fronts to develop trade.
Всех сфер для развития товарооборота.
As for the product, it's quite successful turnover. Well, and also about the obvious and very tangible, primarily in terms of taste, the results of independence. 30 years ago, immediately after the army, Oleg Kulikov, in search of work, founded a small business, which has now reached the scale of a famous confectionery house.
В двухкомнатной обычной хрущевке 40 квадратных метров.
In a one-bedroom apartment, 40 square meters, in the kitchen of 6-7 square meters, they made it on an ordinary home stove. They took a small household mixer produced in the Soviet Union and began to make a cake called bird's milk. In our company, this cake is called Grandfather. The history of our company began with this cake.
Компания называется «Торт Дедушка». С него все началось. Компания с него началась.
Today, the confectionery house operates in 3 countries. The first international market, of course, is our republic.
Чтобы нам иметь
In order for us to have access and interaction with the Russian Federation, with the CIS and Europe, we inevitably need to cross through Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is like a bridge for us. Plus, Kazakhstan itself is a huge market. It is 3 times larger than Kyrgyzstan, even in terms of population, which is economically more developed and has a higher purchasing power. All production is located in Bishkek. To use quality dairy products, they financed a local farmer and bought him 210 cows. The CEO personally supervises all processes. Mastic is bought in Italy, chocolate in Belgium, and flour in Kazakhstan. For example, if we talk about our company, then without Kazakh flour, which I believe is the best in the world, we will never be able to be confectioners. This is the very best Kazakh flour in the world. Flour mills supply tons of it to different parts of the world. The quality of pasta made from this flour is no worse than Italian. Also, you can make fluffy rolls and the most delicious bread from it. This is how Kyrgyz culinary masterpieces are made from Kazakh flour. There is a separate workshop for any stage. Here dough is prepared for Napoleons and here for honey cakes. Each employee must have a strict dress code. If something unnecessary gets into the product, they stop production completely and throw everything away. The workshop of handmade miracles. Here they create flowers from mastic that look like the real ones. Blockbuster heroes seem to have just stepped out of the screen. Every detail is worked out to the smallest detail. On the anniversary of the company, they made a sculpture of the CEO himself. In Kazakhstan, the largest chain of stores of the confectionery house is located in Almaty and Nur-Sultan. Orders for cakes are taken locally, but they are made in Bishkek. They're delivered one night before the delivery date, because the distance allows. After all, the countries are neighbors, close ones.
Однозначно, мы очень близкие народы.
Definitely, we are very close nations. First of all, we have a common history. We were united by the Soviet Union. The infrastructure is very similar. The mentality is very similar. Some food products are the same, as well as traditions, give or take. We also love holidays. Big celebrations, weddings, are everything for us.
Свадьбы, это же наше все.
Дигенче келбесең, ой күйүтүң тартып калайын. Баласы алтын күмүш.
A Kyrgyz wedding is in many ways similar to a Kazakh wedding. The same goes for traditional headwear. This one was worn only after marriage. Kazakhs call it kimishek, Kyrgyz elichek. Elicheks were the same for both Kazakhs and Kyrgyz. A Kazakh one is slightly convex forward because it acts as a sunscreen, while ours is even. The 7 meters were wrapped around the head. Learning how to wrap an elichek, the headdress of a Kyrgyz married lady, is a special skill. Sometimes it consists of fabric up to 30 meters long. They tried in the old days to wrap as much fabric around their head as they had at the moment, because they did not go out without wearing elicheks. According to one version, a mother-in-law wrapped it around a daughter-in-law's head when she welcomed her into the family. According to the other, a bride wrapped it around her head in her father's house when she was sent off to get married. According to the third, women wore it after the birth of their first child, because elichek is a symbol of motherhood. When a person dies, he must be wrapped up in a cloth. They used elichek. It is 7 meters long, and you can wrap a person in it and bury him. Or a woman gives birth, immediately she removes the elichek to use it as a diaper for a baby or for a nightie.
И когда елечек наматывали, это первое вот благословение было, чтобы елечек никогда не...
And when the elichek was wrapped up around a head, the first blessing was for elichek to never fall. Elichek was worn until the end of life, and therefore a woman was blessed to have a long life.
Давали, чтобы этой женщины жизнь был долгий.
Aidaya Sangulova is a famous Kyrgyz artist and designer. Together with like-minded people, she created the Qazaq Foundation, which means the world of felt. The main idea is to revive, preserve, and pass on the knowledge about Kyrgyz everyday life and clothing to future generations. By the way, you can learn how to wear elichek at special courses. We as a foundation pass on the knowledge like this. To pass on knowledge and preserve the spirit of the ancestors, quite often it's done also by joint efforts of our two countries. Just a couple of examples. From the list of cultural heritage of UNESCO 2014, the traditional knowledge of yurt making declared by Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan is recognized as the heritage of all mankind. 2015, Aytish or Aitis. The poetic competition of poets, also presented by our countries, was included in the list of intangible cultural heritage. Ethno complex on the outskirts of Bishkek. Here you can sit in a close company or celebrate. The largest yurt can accommodate 230 people.
Основатель Тавалды Егембердиев хотел показать нашему народу,
The founder, Tavalda Егембердиев, wanted to show our people and our guests that the Kyrgyz lived in such houses, in such yurts, and one could feel this atmosphere here. Eat these dishes that our ancestors and our grandmothers made.
Наши предки готовили, наши бабушки делали. К нам сюда приезжают наши же соотечественники.
Our compatriots, one might say foreigners, come here to visit us. This is the taste of childhood, which was instilled in us. We ate all this when we were children.
Питались в детстве.
The second part of the complex is 40 kilometers from the city, in the mountains, at an altitude of 2,100 meters. Yurts in which everything is thought out to the smallest detail were built on piles so as not to harm nature. But all the dishes are brought from the city. It's difficult to cook in high-altitude conditions. The meat is cooked 3 times longer. But here you can breathe freely, and if you want to take a break from the hustle and bustle, you definitely should visit Kyrgyzstan. We call Kyrgyzstan the country of heavenly mountains. 96% of the entire land of Kyrgyzstan is mountains, and many tourists who come here from all over the world discover the beauty of these mountains and mountain lakes. We have more than 2,000 beautiful mountain lakes. The largest among them, of course, is Issyk-Kul. Alpine Pearl of the Republic. By the way, it's part of the Pacific Ocean. The lake is connected with it by many underground rivers. Every year, tens of thousands of tourists from Kazakhstan bathe in the ocean waters of Issyk-Kul. There are many sites around Issyk-Kul Lake. One of the biggest attractions and such tourist spots is the city of Karakol. And in the city of Karakol, there is a museum named after the famous traveler. He died here and bequeathed to bury himself on the shore of Issyk-Kul. He died here in the military hospital in Karakol. And before his death, he left a will to be buried on the shore of Issyk-Kul. He asked to put him in a coffin in expeditionary clothes and write simply "traveler" on his grave. Because he fell in love with our land, our nature, he fell in love with Issyk-Kul. Everything here is symbolic. The monument consists of 21 stones. Przhevalsky devoted 21 years to science. 10 steps up, 10 years that he spent traveling. The eagle is a symbol of intelligence and courage. It was cast in St. Petersburg. It weighs 1 ton. Today, this monument is also kind of calling card of Kyrgyzstan and, of course, another place of pilgrimage for tourists. However, Karakol is famous not only for the fact that Nikolai Przhevalsky lived here, it's also the center of ski and hiking tourism. The best ski base in the CIS is the Karakol ski base. Inside Karakol, there is a Dungan mosque, a mosque built without a single nail. A mosque in the style of Buddhist temple, a unique architectural monument of the second half of the 19th century. By the way, a delicious Dungan dish is also cooked here. I advise you to try the Karakol ashlam phu in Karakol, because all the guests who come here first try the Karakol ashlam phu. And a short list of other sites: Jetu Ogus Rocks, translated as 7 Bulls. Mysterious Caves. And of course, the Karakol Gorge itself.
Туризм – это приоритетная отрасль экономики, да, которая образует бюджет.
Tourism is a priority sector of the economy that greatly contributes to the budget. And when tourists from Kazakhstan come to us, they leave at least $100–200 in Kyrgyzstan. This is a significant amount for the development of the local economy.
Для развития местной экономики это вот ощутимая сумма.
More than 400 million touristic dollars are added to the country's budget every year. According to the Border Service, annually about 3 million foreigners cross the border of Kyrgyzstan. Almost 60% of them are citizens of Kazakhstan.
Вы знаете, я вот хочу как-то вот похвастаться, да, тем, что мы...
You know, I want to boast that despite the fact that we live in a new time, we were able to carry out a very significant project for the country. This is the construction of roads and the modernization of the checkpoint between Kazakhstan and Kyrgyzstan.
значит, модернизация контрольно-пропускных пунктов между Казахстаном и Кыргызстаном.
Another tourist point is Hantengri Mountain. Thousands of climbers from all over the world come here to climb. For their convenience, the tourism ministries of both countries, with the support of the World Bank, are planning to soon complete the construction of roads in Kyrgyz. This project will be implemented in the near future. I think that our cooperation in the field of tourism will continue and improve.
Туризма, оно будет постоянно продолжаться и улучшаться. Вот мы в этом году тоже были на высоте 4100 метров в Хантенгри.
This year we were at an altitude of 4,100 meters on Hantengri. There is a golden ring. Hantengri is shared by our two countries. Therefore, this is a very significant and global project that will always unite us.
Который все время будет нас объединять, всегда будет нас объединять и привлекать.
Unite and attract. Our republic also stands at the origins of another large-scale project of Kyrgyzstan, World Nomad Games, an analog of the Olympic Games.
Наш проект представлен в 3 направлениях.
Our project is presented in 3 directions: ethnosport, ethnoculture, science, and education. More than 37 national sports of various countries are represented in ethnosports, and almost every participating country has its own kind of sport. It all started in 2012 in Bishkek at the summit of the Turkic-speaking countries. The presidents of Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, and the Republic of Turkey signed a declaration on holding of the Games.
Миссия наших игр, она...
The mission of our games is to preserve historical heritage and revive the diversity of cultures of all world nations. Every year, languages are lost in the world, as well as cultures, customs, and traditions. And in this regard, we would like to present our project in such a way that we could create a platform where nations can demonstrate all the best that they have.
Создать площадку, на которой могла бы идти демонстрация всего лучшего.
And now, the 4th Games of the Nomads are on the way. About 100 countries are expected to participate, unless, of course, the pandemic will interfere. This is how the 3rd Nomads Games began. Music from time immemorial. 1,000 Misanchi performed an excerpt from the ancient Kyrgyz epic. We officially call it the 3rd World Nomad Games, but it did not appear in an instant. It all developed from generation to generation, from the generation of Manas. The epic Manas mentions the holding of large-scale sports competitions, but it's impossible to determine exactly when this happened. Like the Olympic Games, the origins of the Games of Nomads remained in ancient times, but it is known when the first written record of the Manas epic appeared on May 26, 1856. Kazakh scientist and traveler Shokan Walikhanov wrote it down and for the first time shared this unique epic with the world. Shokan Walikhanov is a pioneer who shared this story. By the way, the epic Manas is also on the UNESCO list of masterpieces of the cultural heritage of mankind, and the epic is recognized as the most voluminous in the world and is included in the Guinness Book of Records.
жатат кыргызым ошондуктан көрдүңөр ушул жерге келгенде кунандары тайлары куйруктары жалдары кубалашып кыргыздын.
Versions of the Manas epic have been officially registered, and they are in the Academy of Sciences of the Kyrgyz Republic. The Shingis Aitmatov Manashi Academy operates in Bishkek. Storytellers of all ages are taught here. There's no specific age to become a disciple of Manashi. Both children and adults can become storytellers. It's possible at 3 years old and at 70 years old. The student may be older than the teacher.
Қардан аппақ, анан көрсетіп қойып тұрыш керек та. Қон жесе жүректің, қоқосынан көрінген, жүзім жесе жүректің, жүр қимыл әрекетті қоштап тұрыш керек. Емнеге үйренет, емнеге үйретет.
What do Manashi learn? First, they study the plot, the content of the epic, and get acquainted with its details. Secondly, they learn oratorical skills, words that fit this holy craft, as well as various facial expressions that accompany Manas. 500,000 lines, not everyone can remember such volume. Perhaps that is why experienced Manaschi have the ability to put themselves into a trance state. When they get into the state, when they start singing, chanting, they're actually in a trance. And a person can sing for 30 hours without stopping, without food or water. Manashi does not always go into a trance. Sometimes he uses his skill and his knowledge, but it often happens that during the story, he travels to the places about which he speaks, and he sees himself and listeners as if from the outside. Even bones feel soft. These are the strange things that happen. Rizbai Skakov is a famous Manashi. He says he has had prophetic dreams since childhood. When he fell seriously ill and the doctors could not make a diagnosis, Rizbai met Manashi. After listening to fragments of the epic, he recovered. He says that then he learned about his mission. It's impossible to become a Manashi simply by wanting to become one. First, a person starts to have prophetic dreams related to Manas, who is destined to become a Manashi. Who chooses him, only God knows. Now we have many young children born somewhere in a school at age 7 or 6 who out of the blue began to recite a big parts of this epic. Encyclopedia of Kyrgyz myths, fairy tales, and legends. One epic contains information on lifestyle, customs, mores, geography, as well as religious and medical knowledge. Epic Manas is a collection of all the cultural elements of the Kyrgyz nation. It tells about the hero named Manas, who united the Kyrgyz tribes and founded the Kyrgyz statehood. At the moment, we live in the era of IT technology, civilization. Why are we popularizing Manas? So as not to lose our roots, so as not to become robots, not to forget human values. Human values are especially important between neighbors, who have common past, present, and future. And here we would like to quote the great Kyrgyz writer, Shingis Aitmatov. Hey people living in this world, what do you want? Land? Here I am, the earth. I am the same for all of you. You are all equal to me. What I need is your friendship and labor. Kazakhstan, 30 years of independence, and you look at a long-standing relationship. History and modernity, itis and folklore, kurt and bishpermak. The list is endless. Kazakhs and Kyrgyz have similar national dishes, traditions, and lifestyle. Two fraternal peoples, Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, in a special Qazaq TV project, Close Neighbors.